It's hard for us, but for dogs, not so much. Dogs are up at dawn for fun, sleep like champs, and they love eating fresh, healthy food every single meal. Give your dog another healthy habit. Real fresh food from the Farmer's Dog. Get 50% off your first box at thefarmersdog.com/radio.
From the GetRefunds.com studios.
KNX AM FM and HD.
And always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is KNX News 97.1 FM.
All that matters to you in Southern California.
Coming up, the LA Council on a business. They'll do it virtual today.
Vice President Kamala Harris on the west side going to be on the move shortly.
And a big problem with some of the gas refund, the debit cards that are going out. This is KNX News 97.1 FM. It's 7 o'clock.
This is the CBS World News Roundup, sponsored by...
I'm Stacey Lynn in Washington. More Russian airstrikes hit residential areas in Kyiv today. An energy facility was also hit, and there's widespread power outages in multiple cities. CBS's Holly Williams reports as follows other deadly attacks using Iranian drones.
Kyiv's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, a terrorist state.
Killed a lot of people, civilians, unguilty people, and that's why it's terror attack.
Ukraine claims that Russia's ordered nearly 2,500 suicide drones from Iran. They were $20,000 each, a fraction of the price tag for a guided missile.
President Biden is heading to the Howard Theater to speak at an event hosted by the Democratic National Committee. The focus is on abortion and the choice voters face in the midterms. Mr. Biden says if Americans elect more Democratic senators to keep the House Democratic, the first bill he'll send to the next Congress will be to law. Things got heated at a debate in Ohio last night. Democrat Tim Ryan called out Republican J.D. Vance for supporting conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
It's maddening. This is a complete fabrication. You're on tape, brother. You're on tape, man. I never said that, Tim. Go and run the tape and find out exactly what I said. It'll be like 30 minutes and we're all going to know you're lying.
A very alarming study about diabetics rationing their insulin. Here's CBS's Naomi Ryan.
National health data found that 1.3 million people were conserving insulin, most by delaying buying the life-saving drug. The research showed that younger adults and those without insurance were most likely to ration.
The first 40 days on the job for Britain's new prime minister has been a roller coaster.
Liz Truss insists she's still the right person for the top job, one day after her new finance minister axed those budget-busting tax cuts for the rich, which so unnerved markets and infuriated voters. Opposition lawmaker Rachel Reeves.
An arsonist is still an arsonist, even when they turn up with a bucket of water and run back into the burning building.
Truss, though, signaling she's staying put.
For something to read, a new Oprah Book Club selection was announced. Author Barbara Kinsolver was on CBS Mornings talking about Demon Copperhead.
It's a dark story and it's a hard story to tell. I wasn't sure readers would want to go there, follow me into that dark place, and so I spent actually a couple story.
Markets with a solid open on Wall Street today. This is CBS.
This hour's newscast is presented by Rocket Mortgage. Know what it takes for a home loan to fit your budget and your family? Rocket can.
This is LA's Morning News.
On KNX News 97.1 FM.
The people you know.
The voices you trust.
703 Simpson.
And I'm Vicki Moore. 20 different community groups are going to be at LA City Hall this morning, again demanding that these two council members, Cedillo and De Leon, step down. There's going to be a meeting of the full council, if you can call it that, later this morning. And it's ticked off a lot of the demonstrators. We got more from our John Baird.
The activists, the protesters, do not believe that COVID has anything to do with the decision to hold the city council meetings online this week. They believe the council is just trying to avoid dealing with a building full of angry demonstrators who are applying pressure to try to force Gil Cedillo and Kevin De Leon to resign. At all that interim council president Mitch O'Farrell laid out,
which we know is a farce because he was outside on Friday doing a PR event in Hollywood without a mask. incurring price, at least I saw on Saturday with no mask. We even saw Mike Bunnan out there with a mask.
Farrell, though, insists a COVID exposure is the reason behind going virtual, and he says his constituents and the public overall, everybody's upset over the racist comments that were made, for sure.
But people also expect that we move.
And that's exactly what the council intends to do, get back to work today. But Mike and Vicky, the protesters, don't think the council should be meeting at all until Gil Cedillo and Kevin DeLeon call it quits.
Like what you said earlier, full council or as many. Yeah, we get to 10 or something like that. All right, thanks, John. Congresswoman Karen Bass has received some high-profile support at the event in Mid-City last night with the Vice President, Kamala Harris, and she was talking about the...
That's good to be home. Well, we love having you in L.A.
They were talking about stricter laws on abortion.
I do wonder, like, how far could they go? I mean, you know, Jim Crow laws. I mean, could a business say people to come in?
Rick Russo was in Mar Vista, focusing on crime and homelessness. Harris on the move.
Yeah,
later this morning.
Probably soon, I would think. Jen's been tracking this.
Traffic now every 10 minutes, and it's 7:05. Jennifer, you are.
I haven't heard anything yet about them closing down any on or off ramps in the Westwood area, so I'm just keeping my ear peeled. Also, if 323-467-1070. Let's go to Scotty flying in the Southern California Toyota dealer. Scott.
We are over the 91 right now. We did have a pretty bad drop, 91 westbound Paramount off-ramp, but the lanes are blocked around a earlier big rig fire, so that's certainly going to keep things really tough. And we have a word of a new crash, 91 westbound around the 605, apparently an injury wreck. We're going to go check that out. So expect a backup there through Cerritos as you work your way over toward Paramount Boulevard. Also saw the 405 had a couple of problems to the south bay this morning. Looks like lanes are now, but definitely slow from the 110 as you work your way up through the south bay.
Yeah, I got a tip call earlier from the Lyft driver. Thank you. On the northbound side of Sepulveda through the tunnels, coming up towards the entrance to LAX, the right lane was blocked. I still see that back up there. I mean, the drive on Sepulveda north one getting away from the 105 at all. It's also backing up your west 105 because, onto Sepulveda as well. It's a nightmare over there. Really, really busy. All right, I want to get up to the 118. I had so many calls on it. Yes, there was an earlier crash westbound side of the 118 at Rocky Peak. It looks like it's in the clear. Scotty had mentioned this new crash, and it is there. Westbound 91, before the 605, I want to mention, apparently someone has got a head injury, bleeding from the head, and it's two cars in the carpool lane. So that's just out of Cerritos on that westbound 91. Also, on the 10 West, now heading up towards the Monterey Park area at Fremont. That's the San Bernardino westbound at Fremont. We've got a two-car crash blocking the carpool lane. Our next report, 7:15 from the Puente Hills Hyundai 24-hour traffic center.
In a little bit of a warming trend, this will continue as we get into tomorrow. So for today, 70s, 80s, maybe some 90s, and then we'll bring on some of those 90s in the warmer spots for Wednesday. That'll be the warmest day of the week. Cooling for the end of the week once we get to the weekend. 63 in Hollywood, Huntington Beach, 61.
7:07, and let's talk about gas cards. This is interesting. So California has started mailing out debit cards. Some people are going to get direct deposit. Some people are supposed to get these debit cards for those gas tax rebates. They've been calling them inflation rebates. Whatever it is, people are supposed to get money. And some people are saying that they can't access the money on the debit card. Activate the card doesn't have the option to do that. It's not working. So the state of California wasn't supposed to start sending out the cards until next week. The LA Times is saying that it reached out to the Franchise Tax Board. The recorded is updated. State officials say it could take weeks to get all the debit cards in the mail. The whole process, they say, is going to take months. I think into January before some people might get that money.
Thank you for calling the state of California. Your call is important to us. We'll be with you at some point.
Please hold.
The LA County Sheriff's Department, being sued by one of its own lieutenants, claims that he was targeted after reporting the death of a sheriff's canine. Name was Spike. Lieutenant Joseph Garrido's on Channel 2.
The sheriff, of course, retaliated against my client simply because he was exercising his free speech rights because he gave money to a rival candidate for sheriff. That's illegal.
He says this was not an isolated incident.
We've seen this over and over again. The sheriff Villanueva retaliating against whistleblowers.
The lieutenant seeking at least $10 million in total damages for the alleged whistleblower retaliation, civil rights violations, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Spokesman for the department says no comments. They have not seen
says it's trying to catch up when it comes to home insurance.